What if staying quiet could make you the most powerful person in the room? They want you to react, but what if your silence made them question everything? The greatest minds in history didn't argue. They waited. And when they finally spoke, the world listened. Imagine you're in the middle of a heated argument. Your pulse is pounding, your thoughts racing. Every sentence feels like a sword strike, carefully crafted to land a blow. You're determined to win, to prove your point, to defend your truth. But so is the other person. No one's really listening. Both sides are just waiting for the next chance to speak, to strike, to survive. And then he steps in. He doesn't tell you to fight. He doesn't even pick a side. He leans in quietly, almost like a whisper in your ear. You've already lost. What could he possibly mean? You're fighting back. You're defending yourself. You're standing your ground. But to Nietzsche, the moment you react emotionally, you're no longer in control. The battle may still be raging on the surface, but your power? You surrendered it the moment you needed to prove you were right. This is the silent trick that gives you real, lasting, unshakable power. And it doesn't look like what most people think. Most of us believe power is loud, that it's found in winning arguments, in brilliant comebacks, in dominating a conversation. But Nietzsche had a radical idea. Power isn't in speaking. It's in mastering yourself so completely that you can choose not to. Why do people argue? It's rarely about truth. It's deeper than that. Emotional, psychological, primal. We argue because our identity is on the line. Being wrong feels like erasing a part of ourselves. The ego can't stand that, and so we fight, not to learn, but to protect our image. We argue to dominate, to gain the upper hand. Who speaks last, who speaks loudest, who shuts the other down. It becomes a contest of control. We argue for validation. We want the crowd, the colleagues, the followers, the friends, to see us as right, as clever, as strong. We're performing more than debating. Nietzsche saw all this as weakness. He believed that those who get emotionally pulled into arguments are no longer in command of themselves. And once someone else is controlling your emotions, they control you. True strength, he argued, isn't in reacting. It's in choosing not to. It's in knowing when to walk away, when to stay silent, when to strike only if, and when it serves your greater vision. This is the philosophy of the Übermensch, the superior individual in Nietzsche's thinking. He isn't reactive. He doesn't fight every battle. He chooses which ones deserve his energy. Silence isn't cowardice. It's power, strategic, surgical, deliberate. Picture this: a tense business meeting. Two people argue loudly, interrupting, trying to outshine each other. Then there's a third person, silent, calm, observant. They speak only once, but when they do, the room falls quiet. Their words land like a hammer, measured, powerful, unforgettable. Who really holds the power here? Powerful silence isn't passive. It shifts the dynamic. It makes others unsure, uncomfortable. They fill the silence. They reveal their hand. You stay still, and in doing so, you lead. The greatest minds throughout history have wielded this tool masterfully. Socrates didn't argue. He questioned. With quiet precision, he led people to unravel their own contradictions. A proud man might claim to be wise, and Socrates, with nothing but a gentle, "What is wisdom?" would leave him speechless. He understood. People rarely accept what you tell them, but they'll believe what they discover themselves. Steve Jobs didn't shout people down. He listened, and when he spoke, he made others believe his ideas were their own. He didn't argue to prove he was right. He argued to shape reality. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai, was undefeated not just because of skill, but because he controlled the fight before it even began. In one duel, he arrived hours late, forcing his opponent into a blind rage. Musashi won not with speed or strength, but with psychological mastery. The common thread? Strategic silence, controlled conflict, precision. Real power isn't in talking, it's in restraint. It's in letting others expose themselves. It's in mastering your emotions so thoroughly that others reveal theirs while you reveal nothing. Most arguments aren't about facts. They're driven by ego, emotion, and psychological reflexes. Think about it. Confirmation bias makes us ignore facts that challenge us. The backfire effect makes us double down when we're proven wrong. The Dunning-Kruger effect makes us most confident when we're least informed. In this chaos, the Übermensch stands still, calm, unshaken. He listens, observes, and decides if the battle is even worth his time. The truth is, we argue not for truth, but for identity. We feel personally attacked when someone challenges our beliefs. Politics, religion, values, they're not just ideas, they're extensions of self. And if someone can make you feel attacked, they already have control. The need for validation runs deep. Most people argue to be seen as right. The Übermensch? He doesn't care. He doesn't seek approval. He builds his own. Psychology backs this up. Studies show the most influential people in groups aren't the loudest. They're the ones who control the flow. They create presence through restraint. We admire calmness. We associate it with confidence. That's why powerful leaders rarely raise their voices. They don't need to. If someone insults you and you react, you've given them control. If someone disagrees and you scramble to defend yourself, you've given them power. If you're arguing just to prove a point, you're not leading. You're following their emotional bait. But if you choose to respond only when it serves you, if you wait, observe, and then act, you've already won. Nietzsche wasn't saying to avoid all conflict. He was saying, don't let conflict choose you. You choose it. Avoiding every argument isn't wisdom. It's fear. Mastering conflict, that's power. A sword that never meets another blade stays dull. A mind that's never challenged stays soft. Power isn't found in hiding. It's forged in fire. The greatest thinkers? They didn't avoid confrontation. They used it. Galileo defied the church. Socrates questioned authority to the point of death. Nietzsche himself was ridiculed and dismissed. Yet their silence wasn't retreat. It was precision. And when they spoke, the world changed. They didn't argue to prove they were right. They argued to shape reality. So, when should you speak? When the moment sharpens your mind, when it opens truth, when it transforms others. When should you stay silent? When you're just defending your ego, when nothing can be gained, when silence alone shifts the balance. Imagine this. You're told you only have 100 words left to speak for the rest of your life. Every word now matters. Would you waste them in pointless debates, or would you make each one count? Your words are currency. Don't spend them on the unworthy. Save them for moments that matter. And the next time you feel the urge to argue, pause, breathe, watch. Let others reveal themselves. When it's your time, speak like a master, or don't speak at all. Because power isn't noise, it's control. This is the silent trick that gives you power. For more insights on philosophy, psychology, and the art of influence, hit subscribe and tap the bell. Stay sharp. Stay powerful with Stoic Voyage. So what does all of this mean for you? It means that every single conversation, every argument, every moment you feel pulled into defending yourself, these are tests, not of your intellect, but of your self-mastery. Most people walk into conflict like it's a battlefield, but the truly powerful walk in like it's a chessboard, They think 3 steps ahead. They understand that words are tools and sometimes weapons. And the most dangerous weapons are the ones you never see coming, like silence. Silence is uncomfortable. That's why most people rush to fill it. But if you can get comfortable in silence, you shift the power dynamic. The silence becomes your shield, your arena, your advantage. Strategic silence isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about redefining how you engage. It gives you the upper hand without lifting a finger. When you remain calm while others panic, composed while others rage, observant while others shout, that's when you truly dominate. Think about someone who once made you feel small with just a look, or someone whose calm presence made a room full of shouting voices feel irrelevant. That's the power Nietzsche was talking about. And it's not just philosophical, it's psychological. Behavioral scientists have shown that people who stay calm in conflict are perceived as more competent and more trustworthy. Silence, when used wisely, builds authority. It demands attention. It makes people lean in. Now imagine applying this to your life, in your workplace, in your relationships, in online debates. You're not avoiding the world. You're commanding it with restraint. You're not weak for not reacting. You're strong for choosing not to be dragged into emotional chaos. Remember, every reaction you give away is a piece of power you hand over. Every emotional outburst is a sign that someone else is pulling your strings. So the next time you're in a disagreement, ask yourself, is this battle helping me grow? Or is it just feeding my ego? Is the other person even open to truth? Or are they just performing? Am I about to say something because I believe it will shift the outcome? Or because I want to be seen? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away without a word. Not because you're afraid, but because you already know you've won. Because the one who controls their own reaction doesn't just win the argument, they own the room. Now ask yourself one final question. If your words were limited, if every sentence cost you energy, influence, or attention, would you still say what you're about to say? The Stoics believed in this same principle, that freedom is found in discipline, that the highest form of strength is control, not over others, but over yourself. Nietzsche took it even further. True power, he believed, is not in silencing others, but in mastering your own need to be heard. You don't need to win the argument, you need to win your mind, and once you've done that, there's nothing they can take from you. So whether you're in a boardroom, a battlefield, or a late-night text war, remember this. The silent one isn't the one who gave up. They're the one who already decided it wasn't worth the noise. Let that be you. Want more like this? Stories that challenge your mind and sharpen your edge? Hit subscribe and ring the bell for more deep dives from Stoic Voyage, where power begins with thought and mastery begins with silence. Let's take it further. Let's turn this from a philosophy into a practical life strategy. Because here's the truth. Every environment you walk into, your workplace, your family, your relationships, even social media, is a battleground of influence. The ones who control the energy of a room are not the ones who shout the loudest. They're the ones who decide when to speak, how to speak, and when to say absolutely nothing. Modern life is loud. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone has an opinion. But in a world full of noise, silence becomes rare, and therefore valuable. Power lies in what's rare, just like diamonds, just like discipline, just like silence. Imagine you're in a team meeting. Tension is high. People are frustrated. Opinions are flying like arrows. Then someone pauses. They don't interrupt. They don't jump in. They wait. They listen. And then they speak just once. Calm, focused, clear. Suddenly, the tone shifts. Everyone stops. The whole room pivots around that one voice. Why? Because silence gave weight to their words. Now think about arguments in relationships. Most people argue to be right. They want the last word. They want to win. But what's the cost of that victory? Often it's connection, trust, peace. And when the heat dies down, you realize you didn't win. You lost something deeper. But if you paused, if you listened, if you asked instead of attacked, you shift from opponent to partner. That is power, not over someone, but with someone. Silence helps you hear more than words. It reveals fear, insecurity, love, hope. Things shouting never uncovers. Even online, where outrage is currency, strategic silence is rebellion. In a comment war, nothing is more unsettling than someone who doesn't reply, who lets others unravel themselves, who doesn't need to clap back because they're playing a bigger game. Let's look at Elon Musk. You can love him or hate him, but his silence is strategic. During product launches, controversies, and negotiations, he often says less than people expect. When he speaks, markets move. His silence builds suspense, anticipation, authority, or Oprah. Decades of interviews have shown her power doesn't come from dominating a conversation, but from listening, from presence, from patience. She lets people open up. She controls the moment by not needing to fill it. Or Barack Obama, his measured tone, his deliberate pauses. He made silence part of his power. When he spoke slowly and paused, people listened more intently. It wasn't just charisma, it was control. You see, power is not in noise. It's in precision, in mastery of emotion, in the ability to wait, watch, and choose. And this is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes revolutionary. He wasn't telling us to disappear or to always stay quiet. He was saying, don't be ruled by impulse. Don't let the world press your buttons. Press your own. He called it the will to power, not domination over others, but mastery over self, to rise above the herd, to become what he called the Übermensch, not superior to others, but superior to your former self. Here's how to begin practicing that one. Pause before reacting. Create a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap, you reclaim control too. Listen more than you speak. You'll learn what people are really saying beneath their words. 3. Choose when to speak. Not every fight deserves your voice. Let your silence speak for you. 4. Ask questions instead of making points. Questions make people reflect. They reveal more than arguments ever could. 5. Don't argue to win. Engage to transform. If you're not changing minds, you're wasting energy. 6. Build a reputation for calm strength. Over time, people will come to you, not because you shouted, but because you listened. And remember, silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of mastery. So the next time you feel the fire rising in you, the need to defend, attack, prove, ask yourself, am I reacting or am I responding? Then ask, does this move me closer to who I want to be? Because every argument is a mirror. It shows you where you're still vulnerable, still reactive, still attached to being seen a certain way. But if you can see that and pause, you've already grown. You've already won. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." That's the heart of it. If you don't master your reactions, someone else always will. So practice silence, not as avoidance, but as presence. Practice it not as weakness, but as power, not as fear, but as choice. Because in the end, silence is the first language of mastery and the last language of greatness. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more clarity. So stay calm, stay sharp, and stay powerful with Stoic Voyage. If this resonated with you, if you want more insight, more philosophy, more power, subscribe now, hit the bell, and join the journey. This isn't just a channel, it's a movement. The age of noise is ending. The age of the silent master is rising. Be one of them. Now imagine this. You're standing in a room full of noise, people talking, debating, arguing, everyone desperate to be heard. But in the corner, someone stands silently. They're not disengaged. They're present, focused, unshaken. They say nothing for minutes, and when they finally speak, the room goes still. Everyone listens. That can be you. The world we live in rewards noise, likes, comments, outrage, but real power, real influence, it's quiet. It's the person who knows when to speak and when to wait. Most people can't stand the tension of silence. But if you can sit in that quiet moment without the need to fill it, you become unforgettable. This is not just philosophy, it's a strategy, a weapon, a mindset shift that rewires how you live, how you lead, and how people perceive you. Because silence doesn't just make you mysterious, it makes you magnetic. It draws people in. It makes them wonder what you're thinking. It gives your words weight, because they are rare. And here's the twist. This isn't about being passive. It's about being deliberate. You're not afraid to speak. You just don't waste energy proving things to people who aren't even listening. You don't argue with fools. You don't chase applause. You don't fight to be right. You speak to move mountains. Every moment you don't react emotionally is a moment you reclaim your energy, your identity, your direction. So the next time you're tempted to respond, to jump in, to clap back, pause. Let the silence stretch. Let others get uncomfortable. Because in that silence, you are teaching them something. You are unshakable. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to become so powerful within yourself, so focused, so internally grounded, that no noise can touch your clarity. This is the kind of mindset that changes how people treat you, how rooms shift when you enter, how decisions fall in your favor without you needing to demand it. It's not magic. It's the art of presence, the power of silence, the mindset of the master. And right now, you're being called to level up, because the world doesn't need another loud voice. It needs more focused energy, more vision, more mastery. It needs you. So if this speaks to something deep inside you, if it lights a fire in your gut, or hits like truth you've always known, but never put into words, then don't scroll past. Join us. This is Stoic Voyage. We create content for thinkers, warriors, creators, the people who want to live deliberately, think deeply, and move powerfully. Subscribe now. Tap the bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because this is your edge in a noisy world, and this is just the beginning.